Launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off on HydraDX and Basalisk. Today we have Jakub Gregus, also known as Kubo. He's the co-founder of HydraDX and a partner in Z Prime Capital. And cl0w, head of propaganda and runtime engineer on the project. They are organizing Amsterdot, a 4-day conference and hackathon happening alongside ETH Amsterdam and starting on 4/20. Guys, this conversation is well overdue, so appreciate you coming up and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
If people are listening to this on the day we release it, Amsterdot is coming up in 9 days. Are tickets still available?
Well, we are actually almost at half of the capacity, and we haven't even released the conference program yet.
Wow.
So I expect that there will be huge interest, but there still might be some tickets left. So if you're listening to these guys, go check out the website and you might still be able to find some free tickets.
Okay, so I'll put a link to the Eventbrite in the description below at the top. So if you're listening to this and you want to go, make sure you click that fast. Okay, thanks, guys. So to start it off, I thought we could give people some context. Just wondering how you guys met and started working together on this project.
Basically, it started when Valerie was helping a lot after our Hydra LBP, community management, and then and offering us help with writings, as he saw that Matti, our previous head of philosophy and writings, probably doesn't have enough time. So yeah, that's how we started together. And then in the meantime, we realized that Valerie is actually like great Rust developer.
Yeah.
So he's moving. He moved more to the position of runtime engineer.
And cl0w, what was it that attracted you to the project?
Well, the first time I saw the project, actually, I was just looking for interesting projects in an early stage to invest in, and I found Hydra, and first, from an investor's perspective, it just didn't raise any red flags. It was actually quite a solid project. I really liked the design of the LBP page. It had this like kind of CryptoPunk feeling to it. Some people maybe weren't so much appealed by it, but I found it really cool, and I think it was also meant to address like certain target group. So this is how I first came in contact with the project, and then what actually really got me hooked up was once we finished the LBP, we decided to start a governance vote or whether the gas fees should be reimbursed to LBP participants.
Right.
So back then we didn't have like the LBP that we are building now at Basalisk, so we had to use an Ethereum solution. We used Balancer, so there was like a very, very high amount of gas fees. So then the project decided to reimburse all the gas fees also for failed transactions.
Wow.
So this was something that really, really like attracted me. It's not something that you see every day.
Sure.
It is this kind of like honesty, and it is also shows certain form of idealism that is very important, I think, to the whole crypto culture. So this is actually what made me get more involved with the project. So then I started, as Kubo said, I offered help with writing, and now I'm all over the place pretty much.
Amazing. Well, I wanted to say the first time that I heard about the HydraDX project proper was when Fiskantis was on the Uncommon Core podcast. And I know, Kubo, you and he are both part of the Z Prime Capital group. Can you tell us a bit about what that is and its connection to the HydraDX project?
The whole story of Z Prime started when Matti, also co-founder of HydraDX and Z Prime, he organized in our city first Polkadot meetup in 2018, somewhere in September or October, and it got my attention because like I avoid Polkadot because there was this like trend of failed huge ICOs, which was basically started with Bancor and then was follow up with Tezos, which was like totally shit show and disaster because of like the issues with Tezos Foundation, like 2 or 3 weeks after their record breaking sale. Then Filecoin, which was only for whales and VCs. And so when I saw another huge Polkadot, another huge ICO Polkadot, even despite that there was like Gavin involved and co-founder, I was like, oh, like that would be like that would be like same story, like I'm avoiding this. And then when that multi-sig bug happened, where basically they lost most of money from ICOs, I was like, shit, I avoid bullet, like I'm so fucking smart. Like this will Polkadot will not survive this, or like it would be like super hard to survive. So fuck it, and I was like focusing on like much smaller valuations and projects. But then when this event happened, I was like surprised that, oh, this is still alive, like let's check it, what's happening there.
Sure.
And I sit next to one of my friend, and he's asking me like, oh, do you know Matti? He's like extremely smart. And I was like, oh no, like who the fuck is this guy? I thought that I know everyone from like our local community.
Sure.
So I went to speak to him, and he was shilling. He was really hardly shilling Polkadot. But then we start to meeting each other and talk a lot. And when we realized that we are able to speak together like 5 hours straight, and then he invited me for the first Web3 summit, which was like totally awesome. He offers me to start with him Z Prime Capital,
okay,
as an investment company with small seed funding to like show if we know something or if we can survive. In that time it was still like pretty hard bear market, so Bitcoin was hovering around 3,000. It was hovering around 100.
Wow.
And actually one of first of our investments, we were also chasing like Polkadot on OTC, more or less successful, and to accumulate some Polkadot before launch. And also one of our first deals actually was Commonwealth Labs, which came as a package of Edgeware and equity in Commonwealth Labs, building Commonwealth IM. And what else? And yeah, then in the summer of 2019, I asked Val, founder of Polkadot, if he's able to help us with technical due diligence of Substrate and Polkadot, because I was in the time playing with Uniswap, and I was like totally hyped about AMMs and DeFi and how to make it like much better and much more scalable, much more capital efficient. And we were thinking about doing a technical due diligence on RAM protocol as like black horse of interoperability.
Sure.
Or Polkadot, and Substrate. So he chose Substrate, but he wasn't very much into DeFi. So he went to like rewriting Polkadot.js to Vue.js and do like front ends, and then as a like big believer in proof of stake, I realized that it would be cool if we can stake Polkadot more safer.
Sure.
So I put proposal about building validator node monitor for Polkadot ecosystem, which was called back then Polkalert, and ask Jakub and a few other folks if they want to do this, and like it was really very attractive proposal for them because they were bored from working on ETH or elsewhere, and also like doing something closer to Rust. and closer to Polkadot and Substrate, or like working on some like one of the first like decent blockchain SDKs was like very attractive proposal. So we started with this. We get a funding. We get the funding from Web3 Foundation, and when we find out that Polkadot is used in parity by their lead DevOps guy, it really like totally shocked us. But later we didn't get prolonged the grant. It was like early 2020. Okay. It a little bit pissed us, but then we didn't give up. We didn't give up this and went to the original idea to build like cross-chain AMM.
Fascinating. I had no idea you were involved so early. So Polkadot was always part of the plan with HydraDX.
From the very early beginning, basically our thesis. Yeah, okay. Our thesis in Z Prime was like, if Web3 will materialize somewhere in the future, and when founders and community will finally also find out better tokenomics and better utilities for tokens rather than just like crowd sales and ICOs, then we will definitely need much more scale. Yeah. And we will definitely need more like professionalization on like certain topics and blockchains and blockchain project. They are like more similar to viruses or bacteria rather than something artificial, because if you will, for example, look at IOTA or Tron or even like very shitty or poor projects, they're like cockroaches. Like they can survive. They can survive very hard times, and everything what they need is basically just like liquidity and access to liquidity, right, which is basically offered until now by things on centralized exchanges. Yeah. And yeah, they can live almost for forever, and they can have like super strong communities. Same like Cardano, like Cardano maybe will be even like fake it till you make it. I don't know. I hope not. But it is what it is, and yeah, they are like huge communities. So we realized that AMMs are huge and perfect innovation, which can make the liquidity in crypto much more fluid. And when I organize in our lovely hackerspace, Progress Bar, rest in peace, talk with cl0w guys, that decentralized arbitrage solution for DAOs. Co-founder of cl0w, he show like perfect use case for AMMs other than just like buying long tail assets, which was basically that you don't need to seek the utility token which you need for using DApp on centralized exchanges or on any exchanges anymore, but that token can be pulled out basically from the AMM, which can be basically like warehouse for these tokens, and anything what you need is just ETH. And because AMMs can also act as an oracle or pricing solution, so it can like calculate the like exact amount of the utility token which you need for like certain action.
That's fascinating. cl0w, how do you describe HydraDX to people who say like have a basic understanding of DeFi on Ethereum?
I tell them it's a multi-headed liquidity monster.
Okay.
No, basically, well, this is like just a funny marketing thing. No, so of course the first comparison that you would draw that anybody with like some basic understanding of like AMMs would also grasp would be Uniswap. Almost everybody has done some trades on Uniswap or SushiSwap. So basically, yeah, this is probably the closest comparison that most people will understand. But then, of course, in those pools you trade pairs of assets. So basically, each you have many pools that exist next to each other. So there's something like fish bowls. This is another metaphor that we have used in our early blog posts.
Okay.
So like you have many Uniswap pools that are just fish bowls. So what we want to do with the OmniPool is like one big amount, like body of liquidity, like an ocean of liquidity. So it is not limited to trading pairs, but we will host many pairs. Not many pairs, but many different types of assets in the same pool, which are also priced relatively to each other through a pool token, which is also in the pool.
Yep.
And then the last thing I usually tell them is like, what is the gain of this? Well, obviously we have a lot of efficiency gains, right?
Okay.
So this is you have less leverage, and you can also like handle trade fees in a different way. I think this would sum it up like on a very basic level.
Right. So instead of having these individual pairs, you're going to have everything against a common asset.
Yes.
How is HydraDX different from the Basalisk project that you guys are launching on Kusama?
Actually, Basilisk was the first one before we find out finally what's the right model and right trading functions and math for OmniPool.
Yeah.
We did first iteration of XYK pool similar to Uniswap, enhanced with order matching. Mm-hmm. Just a proof of concept for us to have something for us, for investors, etc. And when Kusama was coming and Parachains there, we realized that, and as it was pretty clear that almost every team will be releasing, will deploy on Kusama their canary networks, but also Kusama has like very much different community, more like into community stuff and more to experimentations. Then we realized OmniPool, because of that limitations of safety, isn't like ideal for it.
Yeah.
But we have XYK with order matching. XYKs are perfect or like good enough for long tail assets. Mm-hmm. We after LBP on Ethereum, we were discussing all the time like how LBP could be done better as a palette on Substrate rather than on ETH. Yeah. How it can be like much fair, obviously not so expensive, etc. How it can have like more advanced feature. Our new hires pick LBP palette, or like creation of LBP palette is like their intro jobs, as we had like pretty huge freedom in company and project what to build. So then we realized like we have a product line and code which is like much more suitable for Kusama rather than for Polkadot and OmniPool. And also we are a huge fan of AMMs for derivatives, like first we were first money in perpetual protocol, which was like very successful AMM specifically built for perpetual for perpetuals. But DeFi and crypto is like extremely innovative, and builders never sleep. So for example, options AMMs it's still not pretty clear like what would be the ideal model. Even like spot AMMs have some place for more optimizations and more advanced models. So we wanted to have some place where we can test AMMs for other use cases, like for perps, for options.
Okay.
Else.
Damn, that's so interesting. And the LBP, these long tail assets, like it's a place to launch coins with low liquidity.
Yeah, or for basically like at first like no liquidity.
Right, from zero, right?
Yeah, because we saw that there was some like even like very legit DeFi teams who doing Uniswap listings, and it basically was pretty disastrous for their community, because Uniswap listing otherwise is like a huge pump and dump, or like extremely capital inefficient, because you need to put 50 and 50-50. So LBPs are great evolution for listings, but still, even if you know that there will be probably like huge interest for your token, it might ended up as HDX LBP, which we need to like revisit it like months ago because of that. Because we didn't expect it such a like crazy interest, but it happened.
Yeah.
But I think we did like the best what we could, basically by tripling amounts for like everyone in community. That we basically effectively decrease the FDV from the LBP on 1/3, which I think this year would be like great defense against these like local bears, which we see like these like periods from May to July, from end of November until until beginning of March, etc. So, but back to it. So we realized that even LBPs might be improved. So we created for the LBPs in our palette feature, which can basically automatically repay fees. So you can basically, so the teams who wants to do LBP, but doesn't even have like 1 million of stablecoin like we had from seed raise, they can basically do like very safe loan from anyone. Basically, they doesn't need to. They can't touch these funds, and during the race is like repaying that loan itself. So if there would be like huge interest, and I can like, probably it could be done in Solidity and Ethereum as well, but on the layer 1 it would be obviously like pretty expensive, and also like like almost all sales or everything on Ethereum is like spike. It's like huge. It's coming with a huge spike in gas, and searchers looking to front run you, or like looking to run every Joe. You as a team also, if you want to provide like better user experience, you need to like constantly call the contract or ping the contract like we were doing. It actually cost us 2 ETH. So users had every time updated prices.
So you guys are building a solution that's better for the people launching the project and also the people who want to get into it early. Now, when you guys started your campaign for your Kusama slot, you brought a lot of excitement with you and a whole new vibe, a whole new energy, and you guys were extremely confident. But I guess there's been a bit of a gap actually realizing that vision that you guys were talking about at the time. I'm just wondering, was it always PsyOps, or was there kind of a process of coming to terms with the difficulty that laid ahead in executing on the vision?
It couldn't be any form of PsyOps, because we didn't get these funds to our hands, so there was like no intention to scam anyone. We were just basically like overly bullish on the state of Kusama tech, and also we did like extremely bad miscalculations of like delivery of like good front end.
Yeah,
because when we were joined the Kusama hackathon in 2020, Jakub made like first version of UI basically in like 1 week.
Okay.
With everything else, basically just by himself, and I think with some help of Lumir, but Lumir was a fresh father that day, so he wasn't helping him too much. So we were expecting like very unprofessionally that with 1 or 2 proper front-end developers who will be like dedicated for it, we can do this like in like month, like basically like maximum like 2 months or something. But also what we didn't why we underestimated extremely front end was basically we were very stressed about like quality of backend and like getting enough of Rust engineers and getting enough of like mathematicians who can like formally verified Hydra and Omnipool.
Yeah.
So we thought like we never thought that front end will be such issue. But as we were building a front end and basically when we saw on how many places it can went like very wrong for the users and their funds, and how hard is like fetch data without indexers and all other stuff which you have elsewhere, but they were not existing on Substrate before. We realized how big mistake we did, and also even like bridge infrastructure wasn't there. Until now, it wasn't possible to bridge, for example, ERC20 tokens and ERC20 liquidity from elsewhere to from EVM substrate chains, let's say, to purely substrate chains.
Gotcha.
So there was like no clear answers and things were constantly changing, etc. So
that's interesting, and thanks for sharing that. I mean, because you guys are not the only team who fell behind their projections when they're running for a parachain. cl0w, maybe you can give us an update from your point of view. What are the states of these two blockchains now, and how do you think they're going to be rolling out over, let's say, the next 6 to 8 months?
I honestly think, despite all the setbacks that we have had, I think that we could not be further than where we are now. I think this is also one of the reasons, just to add to what Jakub just said, I think this is also one of the reasons why we took more time with the front end, because we saw that also like the whole situation in the ecosystem, in the Kusama ecosystem, was just not ripe enough for us to conduct the LBP. So we saw that there was some time because what we just mentioned, the issue of bridging liquidity, which is a necessity, as especially like in the previous months, you could barely find sufficient liquidity to perform a proper LBP, and after that, like transform it into XYK for what we were, for what our ambitions at least were. So we saw that the ecosystem needs more time. Like first it was the XCM, right? It took some time to come to Kusama. Now we have it, but still like we are getting with the teams, onboarding with each other's test nets, starting to message each other, see what we can do. But in reality, we're still, it is a lot of work. And in reality, we're just still not as far as to have, like, if you would have to conduct the LBP now, there will be still no ready solution for bridging sufficient amount of liquidity. So in this sense, I am positive. My outlook, even in much shorter time frame than 6 to 8 months, is positive. I think that we are going to see noticeable progress in the upcoming weeks. I'm not going to say 3 weeks because people are going to hate me for that. But I really think that because under the hood there is a lot of things happening. Teams are working with each other. Teams are implementing cross-chain. So I am optimistic. I cannot give a date because as we saw in the past, like we can be optimistic and we can say we can be ready in a week, but like it's just the ecosystem's just still not supporting this.
Yeah, and I think your community has been actually like quite supportive through all this. I'm just wondering what your experience is with the community of Dotsama and maybe how it differs from communities in other ecosystems that you've experienced.
So Dotsama community, especially Dotsama builders and founders, what is really admirable is like many of them are building a Polkadot ecosystem for almost like 4 and 5 years, I think, Killed and Centrifuge, where like teams who announced building parachains, maybe even like 2017, not sure, but they were basically like really like first teams announcing their commitment to build parachains. Also, Akala team is building in Polkadot and contributing a lot to open source libraries from 2018. Plasm is here from 2018. Moonriver, like Pure Stake, and Moonriver basically guys, and Moonbeam they made impressive jobs. So what I want to say is what really makes me feel better, and what I think is like very strong point for like some investment thesis for for Dotsama ecosystem is how patient and long-term oriented are builders here and their community, because all of the builders, all of the teams, they if they saw that this is not gonna happening soon, all of them could switch very easily to AVAX, Polygon,
Sure. Yeah.
Solana, everywhere, Cosmos, etc. And go for the quick buck. Instead of that, they are suffering from the they are hurt from these like breaking changes and everything, but take it as it is and patiently co-building with all of us with parity. So now as finally is everything happening, and XCM is here, and Treasury will be funding much more like practical needs, let's say, and solutions. I think Dotsama is getting to impressive point where actually it having like late mover advantage. While it's kind of like counterintuitive, but if you will look at other ecosystems, they already spent, especially in the like kind of previous bull market. I don't know if it's ended or if we are in super cycle or super cycle, but basically many of these ecosystems, they spent shit ton of their supply on incentivizing scammers building just forks for the incentivizing liquidity, which was drained by which whales, etc., and then dumping those tokens. While we have great opportunity to avoid these like common mistakes which all other ecosystems are doing, and build something like much more long term.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. There's a sort of maturity to Dotsama,
and also much more different projects. Like if you will check like other ecosystems, and we are from time to time, me or my colleagues, we are visiting these like conferences and chatting with people. There is like there is not much of innovation. It's like pretty much the same as projects from on Ethereum or which you can see elsewhere, just like rewriting to their specific language, or it's basically just Solidity forks, and they are just rebranding it and then like bullshitting like how big ecosystems do they have or something, but it's still the same. While most of the parachains are more or less innovative. Like obviously some of them are innovative less, some of them are innovative more, but we like Polkadot team, or like the team which were building Polkadot. It wasn't just Gavin, but obviously kudos to Gavin. They were on something basically from 2016 or 2017 when they went to build Polkadot. Like the idea of like multi-chain future was like joke until Solana proof itself. So basically until like 2020, basically early 2020. Until then, like Bitcoin maxis, Ethereum maxis, everybody was laughing from like multi-chain future. Or right now, these guys pushing like modular blockchain narrative. Like fuck, like Polkadot was modular blockchain from 2016. Now others are like trying to coin these buzzwords as like their invention, but like that was Polkadot all the time from 2016. And also one of most underappreciated feature of Polkadot, runtime upgrades. Like whoever will come with like more or less partially better solutions for some use cases, there is like nothing what can stop parachains or whole Polkadot to adopted it much more easier than other ecosystems. Like I was asking them like, guys, like, how is it when you are doing hard forks, when you need to add something? And like when I
Can't believe it.
yeah, I am asking their like founders or co-founders or engineers, and I see how they are sweating. It's funny. It's like super funny, and I'm telling them like cool, but and how they are like preparing like months for one hard fork, and I'm doing.
Oh my God.
Like that's cool, but we at Dotsama we are basically doing every 3 weeks something like your hard forks. So like good luck with another hard fork.
Well, I hope you guys can make some noise and attract some eyes when you're running your own conference in a couple weeks here. Maybe just to finish us off, you could tell us about Amsterdot, the reason you're doing it, the vision for the conference.
So Amsterdot is a 4-day blockchain event, which will take place on 4/20 until 23rd in Amsterdam. And we have 4 days of basically 2 parallel streams. We have a conference stream and we have a hack stream. So we're going to host more than 25 talks from all kinds of Dotsama projects. And besides that, we're going to have a hack stream where we're going to give workshops and prepare people for the online hackathon, which will kick off during the event. As to the main reason why we're doing that, I guess one of the big reasons, of course, is that we have had Parachains in Kusama for almost a year now, less than a year, but definitely long enough. And we still haven't had the opportunity, I think, many of the Parachain teams and Dotsama teams to meet in person. So for many teams, this will be the first time meeting. So this is like super looking forward to it. And hopefully this will give rise also to all kinds of new collaborations in the ecosystem, so just also already within the existing teams. So one reason is just to throw a nice party for ourselves, like a space to meet and greet and exchange thoughts.
Very nice.
But besides that, we also want to give an impulse to the Dotsama ecosystem. So we want to also attract people who will be there for the Ethereum conference and Dev Connect, which will also take place around these dates. And I think the Ethereum people will be familiar with the place because just one day before the conference, there is an Ethereum party at the same venue where we're having the conference and the hack.
Nice.
So hopefully people will drop by also after that. Basically, we will do our best to. There will be the talks will be of all kinds. We'll have more introductory talks and more advanced talks, but it will definitely offer enough opportunity for people who want to meet the Dotsama ecosystem to get introduced. And also the technical workshops, we're going to have like basics of substrate palettes, and we're going to have a workshop that is directed at front-end engineers. So anybody who knows TypeScript can come join and basically learn to interact with substrate nodes. And then hopefully pick up one of the bounties. Basically, we are working with all the participating projects on submitting bounties. So this is basically things that we would like to see happen that will benefit the whole ecosystem, ideally, but at least some of the projects. So there will be bounties that are partially sponsored by the participating projects, and partially we are working on a shared prize pool, which will be hopefully accepted by the Polkadot governance. So there will be more information on that, but the teams basically will select the best submissions, and on top of the bounties, they will basically get from the shared prize pool. So with this, we hope to attract more talent, new talent in the ecosystem, but also give an impulse to some things that we really need, like middleware and so on. And we hope that we can also develop some common solutions.
So when we are speaking to many other investors outside of ecosystem, or like professional companies like market makers, prop shops, quants, more or less professional traders, security audit companies, dev shops, custodians, all other kind of professional services who aren't yet supporting Polkadot. Basically, their biggest issue is that the Polkadot and Dotsama is such such a huge spaceship for them, and when they are just like thinking about integrating some parachains or like whole ecosystem, it's basically they are starting to freak out, and they are like, oh, like, it's too much for us, it's for months of work, like, oh no, like we will prioritize probably some other ecosystem. And this was really like making us sad. Also, like many investors or many people were asking me like, Jakub, what are the like most interesting parachains besides Hydra? And like, dude, like read about it, or I don't have time for it, like there's like 50 parachains, like I don't have time for it. So it's for us. And like, what if we can squeeze all the like important info for like general audience, but also for like crypto professionals and builders to just like 4 days, so you can go there and meet basically like most important stakeholders of Dotsama. If you are general audience, you can like basically see every legit project building and see if they are building something cool or not. And if you are developer or like more tech savvy user, you can join workshop run by us or other teams, parity engineers as well, and get all this knowledge basically digested by someone else, an expert in that topic, to 1 hour workshop or 1.5 hour workshop, and you can be like immediately productive, and you can work on some like integration about or your own project and get hands-on help from these people like ASAP and immediately. So instead of like learning and reading documentation for weeks and like trying new stuff which you don't fully understand, and thinking and scratching your head why is it not working, you can ask them directly and be much more faster and productive. So Amsterdot is basically like proof of concept for same format in Prague coming in June. At the beginning of June, then to Paris around ECC, and also probably maybe Lisbon, because we found very nice venue in Lisbon, and in all those cities we have friends or we are living there or our team members are living there. So
this is a European tour.
Kinda, yeah, but it's our gift for the Dotsama ecosystem and how to improve it, because this format was really missing, and if it's not happening, someone needs to do so.
Amazing.
I can imagine doing something else, but on the other hand, Dotsama really need this boost, and it's not our event, it's basically Dotsama event.
That's incredible. All right, well, thanks so much for doing that, and also thanks for building Basalisk and HydraDX. It's really nice to get an update from you guys, and I'm just really glad that we got you guys up here. So thanks for joining the show, and I hope we can talk soon.
Likewise.